Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. This is part two of the series about the three keys to figuring out your sleep. So, last week I talked about the body and all the imbalances in your body that can lead to sleep issues. So, if you didn't catch that one, you definitely want to listen to that. Today, I'm going to be talking about the mind and how our mind plays a role in our sleep issues. And, for some people, this is a big piece of the puzzle. For other people, it isn't. But I've found that for everyone, it is a part of it. Even if you think that it's not, if you've struggled to sleep for any period of time, there is some anxiety, there's some worry in there about sleep, no matter what, and probably some negative self talk. That's the main thing that I notice. And so I want to start with a quote from the Buddha that says, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." And this is so true. And many wise people since Buddha have said the same thing in different ways. What we think creates our reality. And I totally believe that. And I've seen how this is true with sleep issues and insomnia as well. Because I know when I couldn't sleep, I complained all the time to my husband first thing in the morning. I would get to work and complain to my coworkers. I complained to my friends when I saw them. And I researched about it. I talked about it all the time. I thought about it all the time. It kind of became an obsession. And I realized this was a problem with one of the first certifications I took. So I took an adult sleep certification kind of at the beginning of this journey for me, hoping that it would help me, and that part really did. I realized how negative my thoughts were and how that was affecting me, because what happens if you're constantly telling yourself, "I can't sleep," for example, or "Something's wrong with me," or yeah, those sorts of negative things, then that becomes your self-image. You start seeing yourself as, "I'm not a good sleeper," or "I have insomnia." Do you say those words? So you become that person, and then that's going to affect what actually happens. Your brain actually always wants you to be right, and so if you are constantly telling yourself, "I can't sleep, I'm not a good sleeper," then your brain is like, "Okay, I am not going to let you sleep well then." And there's definitely more to it than this, right? Like, this isn't the only thing that's sabotaging people's sleep. There can, as you know that I believe, there are obviously physical reasons why you can't sleep as well, but this negative self-talk is not helping. And so if we address all the physical things, but someone is still super anxious about sleep and worrying about sleep all the time, they aren't going to get better, or definitely not as quickly as someone who's also addressing this mental part. And so you really want to make sure that you aren't identifying as someone who can't sleep and thinking about it and talking about it all the time. So one of the first things I did was I stopped talking about it. I can't say I stopped thinking about it, but I definitely realized that that wasn't helpful, and so I stopped talking about it to my husband and my friends and my coworkers, and that made a really big difference. And that's just the first step. Now, as part of my journey to starting my own business and becoming an entrepreneur, I was also introduced to life coaching. So one of my business coaches is also a life coach. And so I learned about life coaching, which is really about emotional health. And the thing is, life is crazy. Life, if you picture it as this crazy roller coaster going up and down and all around, that is how things happen in our lives, right? We have super highs, we have super lows, bad things, good things, all the things in between happen. But what I have learned through life coaching over the past 5 years or so is that our experience of life, our own emotions do not have to be on that extreme roller coaster. They can be on a really mellow roller coaster, just slightly up and down. And this was revolutionary to me because I know for most of my life before that, I lived with a lot of drama. It probably didn't help that my mom had mental health issues and things were very dramatic there. And then in my 20s and my 30s, I had a lot of drama, especially in relationships, but also friendships, also work. And so I realized as I learned these things that life doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be crazy. And yes, things are still going to happen, but I don't have to be on that extreme roller coaster with them. And so this is really one of the keys to helping with sleep. And this is why if I have a bad night of sleep, which happens every once in a while because it happens to everyone, even the best sleepers, it's not a big deal. If it is a big deal to you, if you start spiraling into, "Oh my goodness, this is happening again. What is going on? What did I do wrong?" All the things, then it's easily going to cause all this anxiety and you're gonna spiral into days and weeks and months of bad sleep. So this was one of the key steps for me for overcoming my insomnia. Yes, addressing the physical things, the parasite, the copper toxicity, the hormone imbalance, all those things were key. But addressing the mental part and not spiraling out over one bad night was also so important. And not spiraling out in the middle of the night. You know, a lot of times we start freaking out when we can't sleep, and it's never because of that moment of not sleeping, right? If you think about it, lying in bed in the dark, in the quiet, with nothing expected of you is this very luxurious place to be. It's only our fears of of the next day, of the future, of how this is affecting your health, of how you're gonna feel the next day, that causes us to spiral out. And so being able to not do that in the moment, in the middle of the night, is the key to it not turning into days and months and weeks of insomnia. And this, honestly, this emotional health is going to help in every aspect of your life. I mean, this has helped me in my marriage, in my parenting, in my friendships, besides just my business and my sleep. Having emotional health or wealth impacts all of your life. And honestly, it makes my experience of life so much better. I just feel more even keel, more content, and happier, really, because nothing is going to come along, and I'm not saying we don't get upset. If someone close to us dies or something tragic happens, I'm not saying that that's not a big deal and we don't feel it anymore. It's just it's just less of a roller coaster, and it's learning how to really tune into those feelings when something bad does happen and accept them and know that nothing has gone wrong. That's really what it is. And so this emotional health is one of the things that we also help our clients with in this program, in my program, because this is part of it. This is part of also dealing with stress better. So there are many different things that we're working on to help our clients with the mental part of not sleeping. And my associate, Tina, who works with a lot of our clients, she also has 2 decades of experience in the mental health space. So she is trained on the lab testing and the physical things, and she has all this mental health experience as well. So she is amazing at helping people with these things. And so some of the things we're doing is we're helping them rewire their brain to change their relationship with sleep. So these negative thoughts get stuck in our head. And so we help our clients learn how to change those thoughts. And that does take time and it takes persistence, but it's totally possible. I know this because I've seen it happen to me. We help people with sleep anxiety. This is really common to, become anxious about sleep if you haven't been sleeping. We help people calm their nervous system. So I know for me and a lot of our clients, you feel like you're stuck in that fight or flight, right? Like your system is just turned on and you're wired, even though you're so tired and like you can't turn it off. You can't calm down. So we give tools to help with that. We also give tools to help manage stress. So it's part of this life coaching and other tools. You might need to address trauma, and whether that is with Tina or we need to refer you to someone, but that is something that needs to be addressed if that is still an issue for you. And it's really important that you're happy in your job and your relationships, because sometimes insomnia is a way of telling us that something is out of whack in our lives. And this actually happened to me recently. So I was supposed to speak at a conference actually today, I think. I'm recording this on June 2nd. I was supposed to speak at a conference, and 6 weeks ago when I was getting ready to speak at it, that was my plan to start preparing then. I I was also going through this transition in my business. So I was one of my team members had quit. I was hiring Tina and training her. I was hiring a new virtual assistant, and I really wanted to focus on my clients and making sure that they are all well taken care of during these transitions. And so I already felt overwhelmed with that, and the idea of preparing for to speak at this conference was giving me so much anxiety and stress. And I actually had 3 nights in a row where I slept horribly. Like, I'm up, couldn't fall asleep for hours. Or one night I was just awake in the middle of the night for 3 hours, and that kind of stuff does not happen to me anymore. Now a bad night is not like that. It's like maybe I'm awake for 30 minutes or an hour in the middle of the night. Anyway, this was bad, and that hadn't happened in so long. And I remember I was talking to my husband about the conference and how stressed I was about it, and he said, "Is there any way you cannot do this?" And I immediately was like, "No." I said that I would do it. I really believe in integrity and sticking to my word, and so I cannot back out. But after that conversation, I started thinking like, what if I could back out? And that actually gave me some relief, where like just that possibility was like, "Oh, okay." And so I ended up talking to my life coach about it, and she's like, "There is integrity to what you say you're going to do. There's also integrity to yourself." And she's like, "I think that you kind of are need permission to let this go." And she also had me write out all the reasons that I should speak at it and all the reasons that I shouldn't. And it turned out all the reasons that I shouldn't made the most sense and were the most compelling for me. And so luckily I was giving them 6 weeks notice. And so I immediately I decided that I wasn't going to do it. And I emailed them and I canceled my plane tickets and my hotel. And I slept for 9.5 hours that night. So, that was my body's way of telling me, "This is off. This is not right for you right now." And luckily I listened, or else I think that the last 6 weeks would have been a lot of sleepless nights like that and a lot of anxiety and stress. So I'm so thankful. And even though I feel bad for letting other people down, it was more important for me to not let myself down and my clients down and my team down. And so I know that I made the right decision. So I'm not saying this is the case for everyone, but sometimes your insomnia can be there's something underlying going on that you're not wanting to admit to yourself. And so we can help you tease that out if that is an issue. And so I just briefly want to talk about my one of my former clients, Maura, who we worked together, and a couple months into it, she took this trip to Ireland, and she emailed me after her trip and she said, "I returned from my trip to Ireland yesterday. I was so nervous about sleeping in various hotels in a different time zone. I did great and slept really well. Each night I slept between 7 and 8 hours. My anxiety about sleep is so much better." And this was just a couple months into the program. So, yes, we were working on the physical things, but we had also been working about her stress and anxiety about sleep, and that made a difference really quickly. So that is what is possible. Doesn't that sound awesome? Your mind does not have to be sabotaging you. All right. So if you are committed to getting to the bottom of your sleep issues, then and you want a body and mind approach, that is what we're doing. My program is unlike anything else because we are looking at both the physical imbalances and the mental issues. And we're looking at it from a very personalized perspective, which is what I'm going to be talking more about next week in the podcast, where I'm talking about the third key, which has to do with your genes and your epigenetics. So, how your body is expressing your genes at this time. So, it's really important for it to be customized and all of the recommendations to be customized for your body, your genetics. And so that's what I'll be talking about next time. But if you are ready to get started in getting to the bottom of your sleep issues for good, then you can book a consultation with me. We'll talk about what's going on with your sleep, what's going on with your health. We'll get to know each other. We'll make sure you're a good fit for the program. And then I'll explain how the program works and what you can do to get started. So I want to help as many people as I can start sleeping better as quickly as possible, and the way to do it a is by restoring your health. So I invite you to book that consultation. The link is in the show notes, and I will talk to you next week.